pure panic had kicked in. I said to Nan, there's a post on Tas Police. I cannot get hold of Mum, and I'm really worried that it's her. Can you please try and get hold of her? First time I set eyes on her, she was just the most beautiful little baby you've ever seen. She was dark hair, olive skin, 6'9". She was amazing. It was a quick, easy birth, and she wanted to come into the world really quickly. And I really didn't know what love was until I held her in my arms. She was the most amazing little girl. And we were quite close. We had a very big bond. I guess it was the breastfeeding. Being a first-time mum, I didn't like to put her down, so she was spoiled rotten. She would be forever in my arms. I'd have to rock her to sleep. She was very clingy. She would be with me the whole time, even when I went to the bathroom. I didn't let her out of my sight, basically.
How old were you when Jacqui was born?
17 and a half.
Wow, that is so young. And she was your first daughter, first child?
Yes.
And did you have more children?
She has 5 younger sisters.
I want you to tell me about the last time you saw Jacqui.
The last time I saw Jacqui, I visited her in her new house, and we were just talking in general about her finally escaping her relationship, and I told her how proud I was that she'd finally done it and got out. I told her how great she was looking. She was looking healthier and happier, and I told her that I was so happy to see her smiling again. She was radiant. And her house looked absolutely beautiful. She'd set it up lovely, and I was just complimenting her the whole time. In the last months of her being out at that farm, I hadn't seen her smile very much at all. She looked withdrawn. We just sat there and talked about all the things that she was planning on doing and getting her life back on track. And it wasn't a very long visit because I had to leave. But as we left, we both hugged and told each other that we loved each other. And I'm so glad that happened. And the fact that I told her I was proud of her.
How long after that did you lose Jacqui?
It was about 2 weeks.
Shakira, tell me about your earliest memories of your mum.
Just being in a horse paddock, really. I mean, I spent majority of my childhood with Mum at all times. My dad wasn't in the picture for majority of my life, so she was the only parent that I ever knew. And yet she got me hooked on horses right from the start. She was adamant she wanted me to follow in her passion of horses, and she would call my school on nice weather days and say, oh, Shakira's not well today. And then she'd take me out like a 5-hour trail ride. So, she was it was adventurous, to say the least.
You're Jacqui's eldest child.
Yes.
And how old was Jacqui when she had you?
17 and a half.
What was she like as a child and a teenager?
She was a very easy child. She was fun-loving. She was adventurous, but not mischievous. She was, we used to call her the Pied Piper when she was little. So she would always be, wherever she was, you'd have younger children that would just gravitate to her, and she would be in charge of a group. So if it was her cousins or if it was my friends' children, she would be in charge while us adults were, together spending time. She was just, She was just gorgeous. That's the only way I could describe her. And as a teenager, in school, she was a good student. In primary school, she was really great. She had a lot of friends. She was quite popular with her teachers. High school was the same. She was quite popular with her fellow students and her teachers. She had a little rebellious streak as well, just naughty, like wagging school here and there. And but I never had any real problems with her. She was just, as a teenager, I think she was really radiant. She was vibrant, and she had a lot of friends, a lot of friends. And we had a large house with a big rumpus room underneath. And all of her teenage friends used to hang out there. So we knew where our girls were at all times and what they were doing, basically. And all their friends hung out with us. It was, yeah, she was quite popular.
With her sisters, what was the relationship? Were they very close?
Very close. So all her youngest, she mothered them basically. So her youngest sister was born when she was in year 10, and when she just finished year 10, and she mothered her as well. So all of her siblings would be able to go to her if they needed something or needed advice or just wanted her to cover up something they'd done that's naughty.
Tell me about that last time that you saw her.
I had gone to her house to drop off my younger siblings who I had had for the weekend. I'd gone in. It was just a typical visit. I mean, I went in and she was in the kitchen, showing me. I think she brought something silly at the supermarket. She liked chocolate, was obsessed with chocolate, and she's like, "Oh my god, I got this big family size block of caramilk for like $4 at Shiploads," and we were having a bit of a giggle because I'd said to her, "Oh, how long is it going to take you to eat that?" And she's like, "It'll be gone by the time you leave." Um, then when I had left, she walked me out to my car. She said that she was so proud of me, for how I had turned out, given the things I had experienced in childhood. We hugged. She said that she loved me and that she'd give me a call later.
And how long after that did you find out that she was gone?
A week.
I really want to explore her passion for horses. She just worshipped them. Tell me about that.
She did. She did. And that come at an early age. So she had a rocking horse as a little toddler, and she was forever on that rocking horse. And she used to always say she was going to be a jockey. That's what she wanted to do. And she wanted to live on a farm, have lots of horses, and be a jockey. That was her whole, and have lots of kids on that farm. And she always spoke of that from little, when she was just little.
And Shakira, what do you remember about her and the horses? It's like your mum is synonymous with them.
Yeah, I think that given her history of relationships, she channeled all her energy into horses because for her she was getting so many things out of it. It was the therapy she would never have gone to if it was in-person therapy. She could go and be in a paddock with these horses. She could say her deepest, darkest thoughts, feelings, secrets, and the horse is never going to repeat it. And I think that, I mean, when I was about 13, that was when mum started, I would say, collecting horses. She would respond to Facebook ads, Gumtree ads, where people are giving them away or they're super cheap. She would go, "Yeah, I'm going to bring you home." She'd go and collect them. We had a couple of instances where they came quite in bad condition, like um, RSPCA level involvement. And she just made it her mission that she was going to keep rescuing these horses. She was going to bring them back to health and give them just a happy life in a paddock, being fat and being loved on at all times. And I think that her reasoning for wanting to save horses was she thought she couldn't be saved. She tended to gravitate towards men who emotionally were unavailable, men who believed that they were the hierarchy, and she just fell underneath. my brother's father, she was with him for 13 years. And she was like a yes man. Like, whatever he wanted, it was, yes, you can have that. She went into financial debt for him. She destroyed herself to make sure that he was happy. So her having these horses, it was giving her something back that she wasn't able to do for herself.
She was a giver. So from word go, she got her first horse at 12, and that was also a rescue horse. She told me she'd found this giveaway horse through a friend, and when this horse was delivered into the paddock that we'd arranged, it was a bag of bones. We had RSPCA there within 2 weeks, I think, and we told them this is how we got this horse. And yeah, they did a check it 3 or 4 months later, and we'd fattened up this horse, and she was riding her, and her first horse was named Ellie. So it started there where she believed she could start rescuing. So it wasn't just animals she rescued people.
And she was a big believer that what we would view as red flags today, she believed was fixable behaviours, and that she was the key to fix these people, but she didn't realise she was destroying herself in the process.
I remember you telling me that she thought she'd met the man of her dreams.
So she had met James through a friend. He obviously was, in her mind, going back to what Nan said about her dream of living on a farm surrounded by horses with plenty of children. They both had separate children from other relationships. Mum had 4 kids. He had 4 kids. He had the farm. He had all the horses. His family was a part of the racing industry. So Mum's dream of potentially becoming a jockey had come back in at the picture, and she generally thought that was happily ever after. She spoke to me many of times about getting married, and she wanted to help restore the property and get it back up to where it used to be, because when she moved out there, it was kind of at rock bottom. They were in trouble with RSPCA and things like that. So she, being the fixer she was, she come in to try and help. It was a on and off relationship to start with, absolutely. He had a history with drugs. Again, something Mum thought she was responsible to fix, and she was responsible to help him. When they first got together, it seemed okay, because she was reaching out to us. She was still coming and doing things. Then I would say probably about 4 months in is when she started backing herself away, and I would say to her, "Oh, come meet me at Eastlands and let's go have some lunch." "No, you can come out to the farm to visit me." It was like you couldn't see her unless you were willing to make that drive to the property.
It was like she couldn't leave that property, especially without him. Phone calls would start going unanswered, messages. They didn't have very good reception on the farm, which is another thing that was against her the night she was murdered. It wasn't good phone reception, and that was always the excuse that we couldn't get hold of her unless we physically drove out there. There was a lot of abuse in that relationship. I mean, she'd been drugged, she'd been raped, she'd been bashed, she'd been bottled in the mouth whilst driving the car, and teeth knocked out. There was so much abuse that took place. He was definitely isolating her.
Tell me about how hard it was for her to get away and to find her own freedom and her own safety.
There was a lot of things stacked against her when she ultimately did make that choice to leave. She was carer for one of his parents, who they're elderly. Her concern was, if she's not there to care for them, who is? Being out on a remote property like that, they don't really have a whole lot of at-home health care. She was concerned if she left, then he was going to neglect the care on his parents. They would die, and then she would be the person to blame.
Also, if she left the property, he was going to kill her horses.
And so that was another issue, was finding essentially accommodation for 5 horses at a cheap cost, because at the end of the day, she really was just a single parent. It was difficult. So that was another thing that led her to stay that little bit longer. One of my siblings actually moved away from the property at 15 because he was being threatened by James and had some very wild accusations thrown at him. For example, he was accused of having sexual relations with our mother because he was in her room with the door closed having a conversation. So when my brother made that choice to leave, I helped him. But that really ignited Mum's realization of, I'm going to lose my kids. They're not going to want a relationship with me because of who I'm with. And she come to the decision on her own that I'm ready to leave. I need to leave.
How important was it for her to have her own sanctuary?
Real words to me were, Mum, I feel free. I don't feel nervous. I don't feel like I'm looking over my shoulder because I'm doing something wrong. And she loved that space and she kept it spotlessly clean, and she was just happy. She was radiant. The last time I saw her, she was radiant. Well, the last time I saw her alive, she was.
Can you both walk me through the moment that you found out that she was gone, that he had entered her life?
So on Monday, the 13th of March, 2023, it was a public holiday. So I wasn't at work. I'd had to sleep in that morning. I had woken up at about 9 a.m. and I rolled over, do the typical check your phone. I checked my phone. I had a message from one of Mum's friends saying, can't get hold of your mum. There's a post on Tasmania Police. I'm really worried. Can you try and get hold of her and let me know? I was like, Tas Police? Like, why would that have anything to do with my mum? And I got on, had a look at the post, and it read, a woman has been hit by a car and killed in Campania on Native Corners, and a 37-year-old man was in custody assisting police. And I instantly felt my heart sink, because I was like, it was a weird moment, because at that point I hadn't got confirmation. It was just a gut feeling, and it's so true in that saying that when you know, you know. So I tried to call her. I called her 6 times. Her phone went straight to voicemail, and I was like, no, this is not okay. So I called my sibling, one of them, who was at Mum's house. I said, I was trying not to sound panicked. I was like, oh, is Mum home? I just need to talk to her. And my brother said to me, no, she's not home. And I was like, oh my God. So I said to my brother, I'm going to call Nan and I'll call you back. But if you hear from Mum, let me know. I called Nan and I didn't even get the full sentence out before I lost it, because pure panic had kicked in. I said to Nan, there's a post on Tas Police. I cannot get hold of Mum and I'm really worried that it's her. Can you please try and get hold of her? And then you tried to call her.
I tried to call her. I called her sisters. They all tried to get hold of her. Her youngest sister said, Mum, stop panicking, because she was going to work today. I know she was going to work. She told me. And I said she still would pick up the phone. If she'd know, we'd be panicked by now if she didn't pick up her phone. So I just decided to go down to the New Norfolk police station, which was my local police station, and ask them what was going on. My exact words were, because I had this sick feeling, and my exact words were, can you please tell me that body laying out there in Campania right now is not my daughter? And he said to me, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, on Facebook, there is a body of a woman laying out there on the road in Campania, and I need you to verify for me that it's not my daughter. So he asked me for her name. He said that he would go and check, make some inquiries. He told me to take a seat, but I couldn't. I was too nervous, and I was just pacing the station. And I just knew because I heard the little gate come out from behind the desk, and there was 2 police officers standing there, and they both took off their hats and put them in front of them. And I only got the words out, "I'm sorry." And I just slid down the wall because I just knew that it was her. But my, my biggest trigger was when Shakira first called me. That morning, this is the mother-daughter connection. That morning, 3:16 a.m., I woke from my sleep and I vomited. And I thought to myself, thank God it's Monday. It's my day off. I don't have to go to work. But I had trouble getting back to sleep. But when I woke up at 8 o'clock, I wasn't sick still. I wasn't physically ill. Later on, we found out that her time of death was between 3:14 and 3:24. So I know it was 3:16. That after Nan had gone to the police station, she went with my auntie Nissa, and at that point, I still hadn't heard the words definitively that it was your mum that was killed, and I saw Nissa's number pop up, and I was like, I don't want to answer it because if I answer it, it's real. And Nissa said to me, she's gone, Shakira, I'm so sorry, but it is her. And I remember I just hung up. I disconnected from the world. I was like, I literally fell onto my lounge room floor and just screamed.
You said before about her photo being on Facebook. Was that a photo placed by media?
After we'd received confirmation, it was from the time of confirmation, I think it was roughly about an hour. Within that hour, media outlets had obviously been notified or sussed it out. I believe it was actually the Mercury that had released the first photo of Mum and had said, Tasmania, woman killed in Campania, identified as Tassie mum of 4, Jacqui Purton.
And you never gave permission for her name to be used?
No, not even remotely. And I think the absolute shittiest part was that, I mean, the immediate family still were, I mean, we'd known she was dead for an hour.
Yeah.
And a lot of Mum's friends found out that way. A lot of, the extended family found out from that notification versus being told by us.
What happened for you afterwards, Shakira? You became the carer for your brothers. Is that correct?
When I had received the confirmation that it was her, my first thought was I had a selfish moment and had a pity party for myself. And then within about 3 minutes of my pity party, I was like, oh my God, my 3 younger siblings are at their family home and they don't know that she's gone and she's not coming home. So then on the drive there to go and collect them, I started piecing in my mind, how am I going to tell them this? How am I going to, what do I do? Do I have to notify child services? Do I just take them and figure it out? On the way there, I had received a call from my brother who had said, we just got told Mum's dead. I arrived at the home. I said to them, do you want to know what happened? With the very little information I had been told. My youngest brother said he never wants to know. He didn't want to know. So he went and sat outside, and I explained to the other 2 that James had ran Mum over. She was unable to be revived. So she is dead. I said to them that if they would like to come home with me, they can go and pack a bag and we can come back to the home tomorrow to get the rest of their belongings. They all went and packed a bag. They got in the car, and on that drive home, I just knew in my heart they weren't ever going anywhere. It didn't feel right. We had just lost the biggest piece of our family, and it didn't feel right to have us all separated. They probably would have ended up in the foster care system, and I didn't want to do that to them. So got them home. The next day, I was in contact with child safety. They were in full support of me gaining custody. I had to contact a lawyer. I wasn't eligible for legal aid, and it took 12 months of going through the courts to prove why I was the better suit. And in January 2024, I was granted full parental responsibility of the 3 kids until they turn 18.
What are some of the other hurdles you faced apart from the legal? Because obviously you're a young woman, you don't have a career behind you yet. You wouldn't have had a career then, you wouldn't have had savings. Tell me some of those issues that you faced.
So I was working at the time. I still am in the same spot. I was studying a Certificate 3 in early childhood education and care. So taking on the kids meant I needed to take time off work to process my new reality, which meant putting a hold on my study. I had to go into Centrelink to apply for family tax benefit. I had to prove to them that my mother was deceased. I had to contact Medicare so I could get the kids into doctors and things like that. I had one very rude woman on the phone from Medicare say, I can't do anything with you being a guardian unless your mum comes in and signs something. And I turn around and I said it so blunt. I was like, my mother is dead. Unless you want me to go and dig her body up and bring her in there, she's not signing anything. Said, I have supplied you a death certificate. Do the right thing and help me. Within about 10 minutes, I had got the Medicare cards and everything was fine. I had to close on mum's bank accounts. I had to de-enroll the kids from their current school because of the district of where their school was. I didn't want to send them back there. I then had to go into the next school and explain my circumstances. And it was like, at every turn, every avenue I had to go down, I had to relive and had to re-explain my mother is dead. And the question would go, oh, so did she die of natural causes? And I would just say, no, she was murdered.
I can't even begin to imagine how hard it's been for you, Shakira, in particular, especially with taking on the responsibility of 3 young lads. How are you now, and how is parenting now? Have you adjusted, or is it still overwhelming?
I think I've adjusted. I don't actually think I've ever hit a moment of struggle or I can't do this. I just kind of just kept running with it because if I don't do it, who will?
It's just like your mum. There's nothing. Totally natural.
There's been, a few moments such as in 2023, in December, my brother graduated year 10. That, I think, was when it very much hit me that I'm going to be present for all these, but she won't. This is everything that she's missing. So sometimes I feel like I have to overcompensate. Sometimes I feel like I'm walking a fine line between just being an older sister and stepping in and being a parental figure. I feel like that at times is a little bit tricky. But I mean, the kids, they keep me going. They are so much like our mother, they don't realise it. So some of the things they do, especially my middle brother, he'll say something cheeky and look at me and walk up the hallway and I'm like, oh my God, that's our mother's smirk. Like,
We have the dimples. He has her smirk, even her laugh, really.
yeah.
He's so much like Jacqui. It's just like, It's amazing.
How do you be a young person? How do you do the things that other young people are doing, especially young women?
I don't think I fall in the category of the typical young 20s. I've never been into the going out and socializing and partying and things like that. I've always just wanted to work, build myself up, have my nice quiet home and things like that. So, I mean, I have been a little bit more aware in the past 6 months about doing things for me. So I've taken up horse riding again, which is something that when mum died, I didn't think I could still be in love with that sport. But that's my mental health day of the week, is going and just going for a ride and going and doing something that's just simply for me and not for everybody else.
Leanne, what's been the hardest part of losing Jacqui for you?
Not from not having her physically here. The hardest part is the not knowing her final hours, her final moments, what she was thinking, what she felt, if she suffered, because we're probably never going to have those answers ever. Because we were told at one stage that she was killed instantly. We were told another time that she wasn't. There's so many unanswered questions about that night. The forensic pathologist couldn't explain why she had a 10 millimeter piece of metal lodged in the back of her throat. There's so many unanswered questions. He told so many different scenarios to detectives of what happened that night. We are never going to know the truth, ever. But the truth we do know is he murdered her. It should never have been downgraded to manslaughter. He murdered her. We all knew this. The detective even agreed with me. When I spoke on the phone with her, she even agreed with me. What was my daughter's body doing in the back of his car? He'd run her down and left her to die, but she's in the back of his car when the police and ambulances arrive. She was in the back of that car because I believe, and so did the detective, that he was going to bury her. But when he drove her body back to the house, the police were already on the phone because, unbeknownst to him, Jacqui had got a call out to the police. But the phone call was cut off because of the reception. But she was red flagged because of the domestic violence. So when the police rang the house phone there, they asked to speak to Jacqui, and he told a couple of different stories there. And the police said, look, we're already on our way. We've already got a car on the way. So he knew then he couldn't bury her. There is so many different things that have never come out in this case that scream murder, not manslaughter. There was no brake marks on the road. There was absolutely no remorse. Never once did he say he was sorry in his police interviews. Never once has he said sorry to the family. Because the only thing he's sorry for is he got caught and he's in jail. He's a monster. And I do believe when he gets out of that prison, I do not believe that other women are safe around him, because I do believe his relationship before Jacqui, there was domestic violence involved. He's a perpetrator, and I do believe he will offend again.
And he's appealing that sentence, isn't he?
He's appealing it. He got sentenced 13 years. He's only got to serve 8 before asking for parole. He's already served 2, so he only has 6 to go. And to him, that's too high. I don't think so. This is my daughter's life. He should have got life. It should never have been downgraded to manslaughter. Even the judge on the day questioned why that charge had been downgraded. And the prosecution said we couldn't prove intent. How could they not prove intent? When he'd threatened it many times, there was text message to say that he was going to kill her. Many times he'd said it in front of everybody that he would kill her and bury her up the back of that property. There was domestic violence involved. There was orders in place that he'd broken and assaulted her. But there's no intent here. No brake marks on the road. There's no intent. I don't believe that. And nobody believes that. So to me, he's got off lightly, and he should own it. He should do his time, and he shouldn't put us as a family back through that court system with an appeal. And he shouldn't be allowed to. If there's something I've learned out of this, the whole system is flawed. This whole system, it only protects the perpetrators. The perpetrators are the ones that have all the rights, and we, as the victims' families, have none. And my daughter had no rights, basically. So who was there for her? Nobody. She died on this dark, lonely road with no one. We didn't even get to say goodbye. No, there's no proper goodbye when you're told someone is dead, and then I had to go into that morgue and identify her bruised and broken body. I can't get closure from that. I now suffer PTSD. I don't sleep. I barely sleep because in my mind, I'm going over all the scenarios that he told, trying to find a truth. And I'm never going to find one because he's such a liar. We're never going to know what happened. We as a family feel so let down. We just feel so let down. Because why do these perpetrators have all the rights? Like, he puts in, even in the prison, he's put in protection. So he's being looked after. But there was no one here looking after my daughter. No one's looking after her story, and, or, no one's here for the family. And he gets to visit his children in a warm little room in the prison, while I and my granddaughter and my daughters visit my daughter in a cold cemetery. Where's the justice in that? There is no justice. And as far as I'm concerned, Jacqui has not received justice.
How do you see her story changing the world?
I started the Facebook page Jack's Legacy in what was probably my absolute rock bottom. I had, obviously because of media, I'd had to make my Facebook profile incredibly private because my photos of things like that were being taken without my consent. And I'd hit a point where no one was mentioning her name. We'd have a 5-minute court appearance and the Mercury would go, oh, James Austin has appeared in a directions hearing, adjourned to this date. There was no one going, hold on a minute, why is this case taking this long? What is this process? Like how are the family coping? So I sat on my couch one night and I thought, I'm going to start Jack's Legacy with the intentions of purely having somewhere to just rant and shame the system, to shame perpetrators. And I put up my first post. It went viral overnight. I had received messages from women saying that when they'd heard about Mum's death and saw the effects that it had on her children, they made the decision to leave. I have had other women reach out that have experienced vehicle abuse where their perpetrator has threatened to run them down with a car, where their perpetrator has drove at them in their motor vehicle. So last year I started the thought of a Jacqui's Law, which would be an amendment to the Domestic Violence Act. It would also enforce just a more care in our system. Right now, a motor vehicle in Tasmania is not deemed as a weapon. So technically victims of crime can't necessarily help our family because it's a motor vehicle and they don't deem that as a weapon. When there are so many cases, not just Tasmanian-based, but Australian-wide, that show otherwise, that show if you get in the driver's seat of a car and you drive at someone that you claim you love, that is abuse and that is intent. That is a weapon. In that moment of hatred or whatever it is these perpetrators carry, their level of dominance, when you get behind that vehicle and you want to drive at someone, that is a weapon. And there's no other argument to it. So I think right now the biggest thing for us is we really want to push to have cars recognised as a weapon. Any motor vehicle, whether it be motorbike, four-wheel drive, tractor, the tractor case. I mean, like, hello, that's again another very evident proof of intent.
A significant number of the deaths that I've documented over the 10 years have involved vehicles, and that's why I document them. And most often, the perpetrators, the charges are downgraded to even less than manslaughter. We know the case of Alicia Little. She was deliberately killed and he got dangerous driving, causing death, and served 2 years. And we also know that the federal government doesn't document these deaths as domestic violence homicides unless there is a murder charge. So we actually have a lot of women killed by men using cars, but their deaths will never be documented in the official statistics. So the path that you are on is the right path. There is no doubt about it.
And Jackie's perpetrator had tried to run her down before. I had rescued her. The judge even brought this up in the court. Like he had intended to kill her once before with that vehicle, the same vehicle that he managed to kill her with. So he fully intended this, and I don't understand why it was dropped to manslaughter, because I couldn't prove intent. There's many witnesses that would have come to court and said the abuse that my daughter went through at the hands of him. I won't even say his name. I can't say his name. He makes me physically sick.
I wanted to also ask you what your message would be to journalists, especially in those first few hours after a woman is killed. What would you say to them about publishing those photos and publishing their names?
Have some respect for the victim. When these deaths occur, you don't see journalists going and taking a picture of the murderer and publishing it and going, this man or this woman is responsible for killing this person. You don't see it because the limelight is never, ever put on the perpetrator. Instead, they would rather take photos of the victim, take photos of the victim's families, and go out to the world and write their story. And another thing with doing a story, make sure your facts are correct. The amount of articles that I have read from journalists who were present in the courtroom, especially during the, what was the hearing? The one before the sentencing. There was an article published that he had sat there and he showed remorse with his head down, with tears. No, he did not. He absolutely did not. He sat there with his head down because for the first time in 2 years, he had to actually face us face to face and had to actually be held somewhat accountable for what happened that night. Not to the extent he should have been held accountable. But I just think that
we had his head down because he couldn't look at any of us. He could not face us.
No. But I think that journalists just need to actually remember that behind these news articles, behind the headlines, behind the victims' pictures, there is a family that is trying to put the pieces back together. There is a family that is trying to comprehend what has just happened.
What else do you want people to know about Jacqui's story?
That there's been a little bit of negativity since the sentencing, given that we are in Tasmania and there is a case here that is similar with gender reversed. We received quite a lot of very nasty comments saying that what we got was disgusting, that we shouldn't have even got a manslaughter charge. He shouldn't have even had to serve any time. While we are grateful we at least walked away with manslaughter, we should have walked away with him being convicted of murder.
How do you both move forward from this?
I don't think there is ever a moving forward when obviously grief is something that everyone experiences at some point in your life, whether it's losing a loved one, losing a friend, losing a pet. But I think that grief, when you lose someone by the hands of another human being, is a level of grief that is very much indescribable to someone who has never walked it. There is no moving forward. There is only surviving the time we have left here until we get to see her again.
A whole new level of grief. The only way I can explain it is I feel guilty that I'm going to live the rest of my life without my daughter. I feel that it's an unnatural process that I should have had to bury her when I should have passed first, and her being my eldest daughter would have had the task of getting her siblings together and arranging my funeral. It is so unnatural. The only way I can explain it, it's like riding waves, the grief. So some days the waves aren't so high, and other days I feel like I'm hit with a tsunami. It's not getting any less, like people say. And I've lost a partner. I lost my partner 6 years ago. So I know what grief is. It's not new to me. But this grief is so much more raw because it's an unnatural death. It's something that should never have happened. She had her life stolen from her, and she should be here now with her kids, and she should be living the rest of her life, living her dreams. And because of him, she can't do that. If I was to sum it up, my most precious moment was the day that she gave birth to Shakira. I had never felt so close to her. Like, I held her in my arms and we both held Shakira together. And I've never felt anything like that in my life. She was my first grandchild, and I was holding my first daughter and my first grandchild in that same moment. And to me, that was one of my most precious memories.
I think that my year 10 leavers, obviously we grew up with not a lot of money. So, I feel like every girl parent, not that I have experienced that, but I feel like the biggest fear for every girl parent would be, oh my God, the year 10 leavers dinner, because you've got to buy the dress, you've got to get the hair done, you've got to get the heels, the makeup, all of it. And I didn't ask for a lot when it come to that time, because I knew what position Mum was in, and I didn't want to put a burden on her. And I remember as we were getting ready, she was zipping up the back of my dress, and she just said that, I can't believe I've got you to this point. I'm so proud of you, despite all the horrible things that have happened. You're graduating. And she said to me, I can't wait to be able to zip up your wedding dress. And I hold that because obviously she's not here anymore. So if I one day do get married, she's not going to do that.
Jacqueline, Jacqui Lee Purton, was deliberately run down by her former partner at Campania, Tasmania on March 13, 2023. He was charged with her murder, but the prosecution allowed him to plead to manslaughter. He was convicted and sentenced to 13 years in jail with parole after serving 8 years. He has appealed that sentence. Jacqui Purton matters.
You've been watching She Matters, presented by Cheryl Moody, produced and edited with care at Dashmade Studios. If you would like to support She Matters and explore more of Cheryl's important work, please visit AustralianFemicideWatch.org. If this episode has brought anything up for you, there are support services available.